An important message before we begin today's scheduled programming. Today, we mourn and honor the 215 Indigenous children found in an unmarked mass grave at a former Kamloops residential school here in Canada. 215 children, undocumented deaths, children including some as young as 3 years old, and we don't know how many more mass graves there could be across Canada. In the memory of the 215 children found, and in the memory of so many more Indigenous children who never returned home and are still missing, and in support of Indigenous adults who survived residential schools and are still struggling to this day, and for the countless Indigenous families and communities that lost their own, we are heartbroken and outraged. It's not just one dark chapter in Canada's long forgone history, it is recent. Let's never forget that. Every child matters.
I stayed in the marriage trying to work it the entire time. I wanted to give my 100% because that's how I was raised. That's what was taught. And when you come to that point in time and I was lucky enough to recognize that point, this is it. From here on, if I don't do something about this, this is going to go downhill and it's going to end bad. And that's it. I got up and I just left. I left. When you are a divorced woman, they somehow think less of you, your personality, your education, your intellect. None of that matters. What you've accomplished, what you've done for yourself, it doesn't matter because you don't have a man beside you. And just because your marriage fails, then you've failed. Yeah, you've basically failed at life. Far from it. You are more than that. You're more than a wife, a daughter, a mother, whoever. You're you. There's a sense of you.
Be yourself. Find your happiness. Follow your dreams. These are instructions that every uplifting social media post sends our way. But how easy is it to break the shackles of social conditioning, to go against the norm that we're raised with? In today's episode, I speak to Tanu Sandhu, also known as Tanu, about her journey from India as a young bride to Canada, where she came with dreams and aspirations of a happy marriage. But when those illusions shattered, she had to make some tough decisions for herself and for her children. She shares her story with us. Tanu is a registered massage therapist and an aesthetician. You can find her business contact information at heavenlyhandscalgary.com. Hello, Tanu.
Hi, Roop.
How are you?
I'm great. How are you doing?
I'm very well. Thank you so much for making the time to talk to me.
Of course.
So we live in a country, Canada, that has a divorce rate of 40%, which means that 40% of marriages here end in divorce. And if you compare that number with the divorce rate in countries in the South Asian subcontinent, there is a huge difference. A quick Google search would tell you that the divorce rate in India, for example, hovers around 1%. Compare that to 40% here. So the idea of a divorce is not really welcome in the communities that we grew up in, which makes it all the more difficult to take the step if needed, especially for women. You are a single mom to two gorgeous boys today, but your story starts with you landing in Canada as a bride. So let's start from there. How old were you when you moved here?
I was 21 years old, very young and bubbly little girl.
And it was an arranged marriage?
It was a very typical arranged marriage, as they happen in India. They still do. But yes, it was very typical, set up by a middleman.
Walk me through the typical arranged marriage. What does that mean?
Well, I can only walk you through what it meant to me. There's usually a middleman that knows both of the families, and somehow he thinks that this boy would be a great match for this girl or vice versa. And then he would talk to both of the families, and then the families go see the boy's house. Okay, I can picture my daughter here. And then there's a mutual meeting arranged where you meet the families or whoever you choose to take with you, and the boy and the girl. And you just basically look at each other, and you're lucky if you get 2 minutes alone. Yes, I was that lucky one. I did get 2 minutes alone with my future husband. And yeah, and you just go from there. And no is not really an option. Yes, I was asked that, are you okay with this? Are you good with this? But I didn't think no was an option. I don't think it was. If it was a no, I would have to really explain myself and actually justify my no. Why am I saying no? Well, it's a good family, well settled. He works. He's in Canada. He's good looking. What else do you want? What else could you possibly want? That's all you need, right? And there's that financial security, and the family's good. The status is there. What else do you need? So no wasn't an option. So I said yes. So that's how my marriage was set up. And I believe most arranged marriages are set up that way.
Was he the first match you met?
In person, yes. Yeah. Yeah, he was the very first one.
So you came to Canada as a bride in a new country where you don't have your family here with you. You came by yourself.
I came by myself.
How was that experience? What did you feel?
It was a mix, mixed feelings. I was nervous, I was excited, I was scared, and getting on that plane by myself in my red velvet suit was terrifying. I had my jewelry on and everything. I was a new bride, and it was terrifying, and you don't know where you're going. I wasn't comfortable speaking English, but you do it. You get on that plane and in the hopes that this is going to be the best life that you imagine for yourself, and it's going to be happily ever after, and you're going to create this happy little family for yourself. And that the thought of that was exciting. Yeah, so I landed here. It was exciting. It was exciting in the beginning. Everything was new and exciting, and I like learning new things and experiencing new experiences. And it was good. It was good in the beginning, but soon to realize that it wasn't happily ever after. It definitely wasn't that.
How long did it take for you to realize that?
Probably a good 2 years. I think the first 2 years was just to kind of getting settled in the country, learning the language, going to school, and just really picking up the culture, everything like that. I had a lot to prove. I wanted to prove that to my ex-husband or to anybody here that, yeah, a girl coming from India, from a little village, she can speak like you. She can speak English, and she can stand up and talk to anyone. So I had a lot to prove. So I was just busy learning. So then I just thought, oh, well, this is just kind of a natural newness of the marriage. We didn't really know each other, so it will get better. So I just lived through those 2 years thinking that it will get better.
And it didn't.
It didn't. It never did.
So you had your sons. How many years into the marriage did you have your sons?
9 years. It was a while. 9 years.
And you stayed in the marriage trying to make it work the entire time?
I stayed in the marriage trying to work it the entire time. I wanted to give my 100% because that's how I was raised. That's what was taught, right? You give your 100%. You stand by your man.
Yeah.
And you just, I loved him. I did. And it's like, when you truly love someone, you stand by them. You make it work. And that's what I was trying to do. I was conditioned to make it work.
Did you speak to your family about your troubles at the time?
I didn't. Again, I think that's just was me trying to take it all on myself. It's a personality trait, unfortunately, for good or for bad. Sometimes it's good and sometimes it's not. I was kind of just trying to do it all on my own. And you do start just believing that maybe there's something else that I can do. There's something more that I can do. There's something that I can fix about myself. And you just start believing that there must be something else, or maybe there is something wrong with me. I'll fix this or I'll fix that, and then it will work. I don't need to make it public. I don't need to tell people about my problems. That's a no-no. You don't talk about your problems.
Mm-hmm. And also the conditioning that you referred to, the way women are raised, we're constantly told that the family's izzat, the family's honor lies on you. And you have to make sure that your marriage works, make sure that you prove to the world, prove to the society that you're a good wife, you're a good daughter-in-law, because if you don't, then what would they say? I don't know who they is, but what would they say about your parents or about your upbringing? What role did that play in you staying back in the marriage?
Oh, huge, huge. We are just locked in this societal compliance that we have to comply, and we have to just live by these society rules that whoever built them, whoever they are, like you said, I guess society in general and South Asian community in general. And whenever those rules were set, you just live by them, and you see your mothers, your relatives, your whoever living by those rules, and then it's just drilled in your head automatically. You're programmed that way, that you have to live by those rules too, happy or not, but you have to live by those rules. And you do worry that what will society say about you, about your parents, about your family name. You have to protect your family name, you have to protect your honor, you have to protect your family's honor, your in-laws' honor. Everything is on your shoulders.
So you had your sons, and finally, at some point, you decided enough was enough. I'm going to walk out, and I'm going to raise my children. I'm going to have a job. I'm going to have my own career.
Right.
How did that come about?
Well, yes, like you said, enough. You reach that point in time and you think that this is it. This isn't good for anybody. This isn't good for me. This isn't good for my kids. I need to do something different. I need to figure it out, and I need to do it. And when you come to that point in time, and I was lucky enough to recognize that point. This is it. From here on, if I don't do something about this, this is going to go downhill and it's going to end bad. And that's it. I got up and I just left. I left, and faced many challenges from that point. That was 8 years ago. From that point to this day, many challenges came my way, but you crossed every bridge and you just make it work. And now I've created this life for myself, and it's a very rewarding, fulfilling life and independent.
Can you name maybe 2 or 3 challenges that you faced?
Oh man, many. I think I was very sheltered, and even though after 13 years of being in the country, I didn't own a credit card, I didn't know how banking worked, and I didn't know how to do anything really. I remember calling a friend of mine that, hey, do you know how do I put a windshield washer fluid in my car? So it was from little things like that to finding a place to live, signing your lease, and learning the legal language, and going to courthouses. Or, it was from as little as car troubles to bigger things like that. Many of those. And to be honest, it wasn't easy. It really wasn't. But the only way was to put myself through that and to just overcome it. Just do it. Just not doing wasn't an option. Not doing wasn't an option. When I took that step, I told myself, you are on your own and you're going to figure it out. And I did. Sometimes it came harder than the other times, but you do it.
So when you moved out, did you have a support system in place outside?
Support system in the sense that my parents, for sure, yeah, my family did understand my reasons for leaving, and so my mom was my biggest supporter ever. She was my everything. She was my friend, my companion, my emotional support, everything. So that was huge. That was huge, and I think that's all I needed at the time. And so yes, parents, friends, friend circles that you make. And I didn't have friends. I didn't have personal friends after being in the country for 13 years. But then I started making friends, personal friends, and then you build your network, you build your support system.
Yeah. Did you go to school after moving out as well?
No, no. Well, that's not entirely true. I had to upgrade my career, my education. So I was working as an esthetician at a spa, and I realized that that was okay to sustain me, but not for a long time. So I upgraded my education. I became a registered massage therapist. So I did go to school. Yeah.
The they that we talked about earlier, what would they say? So
Mhm.
what did they say when you moved out?
Um, Probably a lot. A lot of it didn't come to me as in my mom was my wall. She would take it for me. It didn't really come to me, but there was pressure. There was pressure from both sides to make it work again. Make it work
Mm.
again. You can do. You can get back together for the sake of the kids. Make it work again.
Mm.
So there was that pressure. It was felt, but that I wasn't. It was just like the decision was final. There's no going back.
So what is it like for a single woman in South Asian community with two children? What is the moving on process like?
To be honest, we are still sitting like in 100 years behind. Society is very judgmental, very, very judgmental, especially South Asian community. I've faced many judging eyes, many faces, and it just people think less of you when you are a divorced woman. They somehow think less of you, your personality, your education, your intellect. None of that matters. What you've accomplished, what you've done for yourself, it doesn't matter. You because you don't have a man beside you. You just
Mhm.
don't have this man beside you. It's unfortunate, and so at times it's hurtful. At times it's frustrating. Um, People judge you for just building yourself, really, and I've felt it in functions that in gatherings where it's in the same relationship. If a girl is with her husband, is given more respect than me. I've felt it, and so those things, yeah, we definitely need to work on that as a society. And it starts with one person, it starts with everybody. We can't just lay it on to them, whoever them are. um, and just all that, and let alone moving on. Moving on is even harder than recovering and rebuilding. It's and again, society puts that label on you. You are divorced now, you have two kids, therefore you don't have a right to be happy again. And the sole purpose of your life is to raise your kids. Yes, that is. I live and breathe for my kids. They are my world. I would do anything for them. They come first before anything and anyone. But there is that part of you that wants happiness again. There is that part of you that maybe want a companion again. So that's really hard, and that's been a challenge. And let alone if somebody sees you with a man, that man could be your friend, your coworker, your accountant. It could be anybody, but no, to them, that man must be somebody you're sleeping with or somebody you have these unofficial relations with. um,
That sorry to interrupt, but that
yeah,
unfortunately happens with married women too. So, but
I know.
more so with divorced women. Yeah.
Right, exactly. So I think it's just easy to judge when you are divorced or when you are single. And so you must have these relationships that are not approved by the society or approved by family or whoever. Yeah, so that's been challenging for sure.
And unfortunately, most of these judgments do come from women themselves.
Yes, yes, that's the sad part about it. It does come from women mostly. Yes, yeah, mostly. It is sad. Yeah.
Because I believe somewhere we're raised as women in South Asian communities. I won't speak for everybody, of course. I can speak to my experience. Is that you're raised to be a perfect wife, a perfect daughter-in-law, and if for some reason you fail out at that, if for some reason your relationship breaks, you're seen as a failure.
Exactly. You're seen as a failure, as that you were put on this earth to do that one very important job. And just because your marriage fails, then you've failed. Yeah, you've basically failed at life. Far from it. You are more than that. You're more than a wife, a daughter, a mother, whoever. You're you. There's a sense of you. I think it's just, we often lose our own voice, our own identity, our own sense of self when we're in these relationships. And you just start viewing yourself as a wife, as a daughter, as a whoever. You lose sense of yourself. I did. And I'm fortunate and grateful to say that I recovered from that point on, but not everybody is. Not everybody is. And you just lose yourself, and that's how you live for the rest of it. And it's sad. It's sad, and it hurts to think that there are women out there that just keep on living like that, thinking they don't even know who they are anymore.
And it's far more common than not, unfortunately.
It is.
We can say that from experience, that there are,
Absolutely.
especially in my mom's generation, I see so many women who are not happy with their lives, and yet they tread on because that's the only reality they know.
That's
So
the
much
only
power to
reality.
you.
I know. I know. I think we just, we grew up with this deep sense of just unworthiness and to this need to be validated by a man. And even if it's your dad, like in India, I don't know if you remember, on your school certificates, it's your name and your dad's name. And then you are married, then it's your name and your husband's name everywhere. It's like your name and the daughter of. It has to be, it's your name and the wife of. It's like, yeah, you need to be validated by a man. And then we just grow up with that. We just grow up with that need. And it's just drilled into our heads. It's really hard to walk away from that, and really hard to uncondition yourself. But we need to. We need to.
Yeah. It's unlearning. The unlearning process is not easy at all. It's painful. It's hard. When you moved out of your home, the unlearning process, it must have been hard. Did that process start before you moved out, or did that start after you moved out?
Some of it started before I moved out, and I think was the process. That was the process. That's where the journey started, and that's what gave me the courage to take that step. That yes, I'm done. I'm moving. I'm going. I'm leaving. It did. Yeah, I had started taking care of myself, started becoming more independent, making my own decisions job wise. I had gotten a job, and just again, building some networks, because when you do work and you just meet someone that is a good listener, you start forming those friendships. It started before I moved out.
Mhm. You had a support system in your mom. So let's
Mm-hmm.
say a woman is in a relationship similar to yours, and she needs to get out, but she
Mm-hmm.
does not have that support system. What would your advice for her be?
The biggest advice is to recognizing that point in time where it's like, okay, this is done, and this is enough. I can't drag this anymore. And as painful and as tough, as terrifying that might be, you do need to move on. You need to get out. You do need to get out. And if you don't have the support system, you build your support system. You have to build your own support system. You are your biggest support system. So find you again. Find that yourself that's in you still. Find that first. And that support system will fall in place from there on. There are people out there that are willing to help, to listen, to give you emotional support, moral support, and even financial support. There are resources available, but you need to find that in here first. You are your support system, and then it will build, it will go on. And I know I had my mom for sure, and that was huge, but from there on I just built my network, my support system. I didn't have anybody else. It will fall in place. You need to just tap into your inner strength, and you have it. Everybody does.
And we often hear that moms are told to stay behind for children, or they stay behind themselves for children, because what would happen to my children if they don't have their father around? Or how would I financially support my kids? How would I take care of my kids on my own? Was that ever a deterrent for you?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It was one of the fears, like, how will I do on my own? How will I raise them financially? And um, how will it work out? Definitely it was. But you know what? Children are resilient. They bounce back. They really do. And as mothers, we do worry about them a lot. But they're okay, and they will be okay. If you start taking care of yourself, your kids want to see you happy. If you're not happy, they're suffering too. And that's what I saw. I wasn't happy, and I had this dysfunctional marriage, and my kids sensed it. As little as they were, they weren't happy. That was the biggest reason, actually. That was the final decision I made based on that. It's like, that's it. I can't do this to my children. I can't do this to them. They need a better, healthier environment, and they deserve that. So yes, I know that saying that for the sake of the children, it created a lot of suffering, much suffering, but it's never this for the kids. It's never good for the kids. You will meet many children as adults that thought, yeah, my parents should have separated. I didn't like growing up that way. So no.
Are your kids happy today?
Yes, I'm very happy. They're happy. They're healthy. I'm thankful. They're thriving, and they understand that this is how it is. We have two homes. They're actually happy. They got two birthday parties. They got two Christmases. So yeah, they're happy.
Are you happy?
Absolutely. Yes. Yes. I have said that before. I value my independence. I value my mental peace. And I have this very rewarding, fulfilling life. And it is very rewarding to think that, my time is my own time, and I make my own decisions, and I provide for my kids, and I'm there for them in any which way they need me. It's deeply satisfying. So yes, I am happy.
Thank you so much for your time. I really, really appreciate it. And thank you for sharing your story with such courage.
Thank you, Roop. Thank you. My pleasure. It was very nice chatting with you and sharing. And I hope it inspires someone. And I hope it just anybody listening, maybe going through the similar circumstances, I hope it helps them find their own strength. Thank you.
I'm sure we'll chat again soon. Thank you so much.
Of course.